What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, we had a lot of people ask if Dark Rey or Rey herself could be a clone or a creation of Palpatine in the Rise of Skywalker.
I hope not. It's not something I would like.
Yeah, I put this on Twitter. I was like, I really hope the clone thing is just not an option.
Outside of clone troopers, I am just not a fan of cloning. And I mean that more in like our main characters. The clone troopers in the Clone Wars in the series are amazing because, I mean, there's a lot to explore there, and what are the ethics behind creating a person just to fight and kill and then treating them like they're not people. Love all that stuff. I don't like the idea of cloned Palpatine, cloned Rey. I didn't like Luke in in the original Thrawn trilogy, Last Command. Like, I don't want Rey.
Yeah. I am starting to think more and more that this is a vision of some kind, or a couple of people have thrown around the idea of like her looking into a mirror in Vader's castle, and this is what she sees. And I don't know. I don't think it's a clone. I don't know if this is her being possessed. I think that this is just something that we see quickly, because otherwise, like, why would they show that in the teaser?
Yeah, like, I mean, that's why I'm kind of like, I hope it's not a vision in a way. I think that's probably the most likely right now, but I want it to be important to the plot. I don't want it to be like this thing where, like in The Last Jedi, she sees her reflection and it's like, she just sees what could be, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, I want it to actually happen, but I don't want it to happen where it's like Palpatine pulls out the Rey clone, just like in The Last Command. Possession, I'm also like, that is almost what I'm leaning towards. I don't like possession. I said this in the video that we put out on Wednesday, but like, I don't like in the first Avengers movie when Hawkeye is just taken over by Loki and he's a mindless drone. I do not want that for Rey.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, it's not Rey anymore.
Yeah.
It needs to be her. Influence by Palpatine, yes. Possession, no. But I also don't really know what else to call it. I don't know. Yeah. But no to clones. I don't want any clones.
Backwards Around the Bases wants to know if the official announcement of the Kenobi series makes Force Ghost Con any more likely in Episode 9.
I tried to take at least one question about all the major stuff from D23 last weekend. So it certainly doesn't hurt that Ewan McGregor is like officially back in the fold.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it probably makes it slightly more likely.
I agree. I mean, at first I was thinking maybe we would get one or two Force Ghosts just to help wrap up the entire Skywalker saga. I still don't know if we'll get Qui-Gon and everybody.
It's gonna happen. They're all coming back.
I mean, Anakin makes sense now that I think about it, but I don't know.
We're gonna get Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Qui-Gon, Han Solo, that Ewok that dies on Endor, and it's very sad. He's coming back as a Force Ghost. Everyone that's ever died, they're Force Ghosts now. The rules have changed. Akbar's coming back.
Eric Wall asks why we think Favreau and crew decided to have IG-11 in the show instead of IG-88. So talking about The Mandalorian. I think the simple answer for this is that we did find out that Taika's character would be, in the show, commonly mistaken for IG-88. And I feel like this is a good opportunity to have some humor in the show.
I mean, I've seen people just straight up complaining about it, that like, well, why didn't they just make it IG-88?
Yeah, why wouldn't they just do this?
Why are they angry? Like, they haven't seen the show yet, and it's like, well, it sounds like there is a story reason for it.
Yeah.
And that they might explore IG-11's identity. And, like, the fact that we were joking that it looks like maybe the Mandalorian and IG-11 are fighting pirates or something in this city. Maybe they saved the city and then like everyone thanks IG-88 for helping out, and he's like, I'm not IG-88. Like, that's funny.
Yeah, I think because this show is not about Boba Fett like so many people wanted it to be, I don't see why they would use IG-88 as a character. Does that make sense? Like, if it were a show about Boba Fett, sure, I would want maybe IG-88 to be a part of it. But this is a new character who has a new sidekick that just so happens to look like this.
He's an IG droid. There were more than one.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was someone when they first showed it, I was like, oh man, IG-88's back. I'm excited about it. But then they were like, no, it's IG-11. It's like, why is that a big deal? It's not like we know a ton about IG-88 anyway. He was in a couple shots of Return of the Jedi. He was in the Age of Rebellion special comic. Mm-hmm. He did have some legend stories, like the one where one of his copies takes over the second Death Star. Like, it's not like he has this amazing, like, history, even in Legends. It's just an IG droid.
Yeah. I like to think that IG-11 was the original kind of, like, badass bounty hunter, and that IG-88 stole his identity.
That's funny.
And
I like that.
He's going to spend the entire show being like, well, I did it first.
Like, IG-88 maybe did one cool thing, and then everyone's like, oh, you're also that droid that did this, and IG-11, like, he's taking credit for everything IG-11 has done.
He's like, well, 88 got hired by Vader, so...
Yeah. Like, I'm just saying, wait to see it before you get all upset, because there's probably an in-universe story reason for it.
And it's probably going to be good, because it's Taika.
Now, I don't know if there was some sort of mandate where, like, maybe Jon Favreau was like, I want to do a story about Boba Fett and, like, say that he definitely survived the Sarlacc pit. Maybe Lucasfilm was like, no. And then maybe he was like, I'd like to use IG-88. And they were like, no. It's like, I don't know. Maybe that happened. But even if it did, like, it sounds like they have a reason for IG-11. And I, so far, think it's pretty funny.
Caleb A. Diaz wants to know if the Disney Plus shows are taking place of the anthology films, and if so, how do we feel about it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense because of how big they're trying to make Disney Plus. It's just the next step in evolution of content.
I mean, Marvel's got like 8 series coming, and they sound kind of like Solo or Kenobi, where it's like we're going to really focus in on 1 or 2 characters at a time. And yeah, I remember, I mean, Kenobi was originally, as far as we know, supposed to be a movie. And then we kind of heard rumblings after Solo's poor performance at the box office that they were just going to do away with anthologies. And I remember being like, that feels like a knee-jerk reaction to me, and I wasn't crazy about it. But if they're going to just take those stories, shift them over into series, I think that's a great place for it. I've said it before that I see the Star Wars canon as kind of a funnel, where the very top are the movies. That's what, like, everyone goes to see. And then a lot of people still watch the TV shows. And then you go to the video games, and then the books and the comics. Yeah. And, like, way down at the bottom, that's where you can get really reference heavy, because if you're reading the comics, you can assume that you've also read all of this or seen it all. So, yeah, the TV shows are now a place where we can dive into characters a little more, like Solo or Kenobi or Cassian. I like that. And then we save the movies for the really big stuff.
Yeah. Although, now that I think about it, you say, like, movies are at the top, everybody goes to see those. It's kind of like more and more people are just into binge watching Netflix shows, and they just watch an entire show and, like, move on to the next thing and next thing. And, like, people are experimenting more and more with new media through these streaming services. So I would see new anthology TV series as an opportunity to get new viewers.
Absolutely.
Especially with shows like The Mandalorian, where there will be callbacks that people who know the movies will recognize, but it's also all new characters. And, you know, some people didn't go see Solo or Last Jedi because they're like, oh, I didn't really keep up with the films over the years. I don't know what's going on. It seems like a lot to have to catch up to watch that.
Sure. It's going to be interesting to see how Disney Plus works because they are clearly pushing a lot into it. I think that, just the way that we consume media has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you need big event movies to get people out. And it's like Han Solo's backstory. I liked the movie well enough, but yeah, I kind of feel like now if Disney Plus were an option back then, it's like, yeah, make that a series and tell a bigger story.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to the old Sith Wars or the creation of the Jedi or something like that.
You've just got more time to do more things. You could do like a 12-episode series and have a much bigger story arc than a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
The Bobby Lynn asks if we're in favor for more stories like A Crash of Fate that are more secluded from the larger stories, or do we prefer more connected stories?
So, I feel a little hypocritical in all this, but in my review for A Crash of Fate, I said that it felt secluded, like you just said, where it didn't really tie into the larger story. It was just about 2 characters on Batuu. And I was kind of like, I miss the connectivity and all that. And yet, I've also been championing the fact that Star Wars needs to get weirder and get away from the Skywalker saga. And here I am kind of like, I wish this book were more connected. But I don't know. That's how I felt reading it. I think it's important for Star Wars to continue to do that. Not everything should be Skywalker saga related.
Yeah.
And it definitely won't be in the future.
Yeah. I mean, that particular story, I agree, felt pretty secluded, but I think that's just because everything right now is very connected. And in the coming years, we're going to get more and more stories that kind of branch out, and then maybe stories like that would have worked better.
Yeah.
But right now, I prefer things that are a little bit more connected, just because I'm, like, really into the sequel trilogy right now. I want more stories about those characters, and
right.
I don't know. I'm open to new stuff, but I think it'll be easier to take in down the line.
I mean, I love pulling out the Easter eggs and the connections and the references and stuff, and there wasn't much of that in A Crash of Fate, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I've seen a ton of people praising that book and saying how much they love Izzy and Jules, the new characters. And I'm thrilled that people do, and I wish that I were more into it. And I think it's something I need to get used to because, yeah, Star Wars is going to get stale if we're just exploring the same stuff over and over and over.
Sure. And then how else are we going to get proper representation in Star Wars if we don't have new characters like Aphra?
I mean, yeah, Dr. Aphra's it's like a little... She started out very connected, and now she's got her own comic, and she is like, it's very weird and out there, and I love it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is this kind of thing where I would say her story is secluded-ish now, not so much as A Crash of Fate, but she had like they kind of eased me into it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to get the Social Justice Warrior award for saying that, but it's true. Like, more stories down the line need better representation.
I agree. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content like audio commentaries for the films, and you'll get a guaranteed response from us every week. And we're also doing commentaries for the Clone Wars chronologically, and this week's episode is R2 Come Home, so that's all available right now if you're interested.
On to YouTube questions. Silent Standout asks if any Rebels characters could appear in the Cassian Andor series.
I wouldn't expect the main characters to appear.
Yeah.
Maybe Hera, maybe Chopper.
I was gonna say Hera. Chopper would be an easy appearance. Hera would be a big surprise and a happy surprise.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everyone who has never seen Rebels before might be a little confused, but she's just another general at that point.
Yeah, I think they could work Hera in pretty easily. It's just a matter of will they.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Chopper is even easier, where it's just like, oh, General Syndulla sent her astromech to help us out. I guess since we didn't really... We got to see the crew of the Ghost come into the fold, and that is happening during the time period of Cassian. It looks like the Cassian Andor series takes place 3 years before Rogue One. And the Ghost crew wasn't totally fully with the rebellion quite yet, so they were adjacent.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible. I don't know.
Some people have thrown around the idea that this show will be called Fulcrum, and that maybe in a season 2, we could get live-action Ahsoka. There's a chance.
Yeah, and Dave Filoni was asked about that at D23, and he kind of just giggled and said, never say never.
Which he's going to say about anything.
Right. Like, he's just playing with us at this point.
Yeah. But, yeah, I would go back to Chopper being a definite possibility, and Hera, I'm crossing my fingers that we get to see Hera, just because it would be cool to see another Twilight, like, as a main character on a show.
Yeah. I think it's far more likely that, I mean, technically Mon Mothma is a Rebels character. She was in it. And Bail Organa was in it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more likely that characters that appeared in Rogue One will appear in the Cassian show. So Mon Mothma, I almost said Forrest Whitaker, Saw Gerrera, Bail Organa, Pow, Bistan, all those commandos, those I think are far more likely.
Captain Rex of the 501st wants to know if Commander Cody could be a villain in the Kenobi series.
That's interesting. I don't think so.
I don't think he would be a villain, but it would be really cool to see a live-action Commander Cody in full, like, Order 66 mode.
Yeah. We only got it for that one split second in Revenge of the Sith, and he's like, a job well done, even though he missed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there has been, like, I don't know, clamor for him to come back. It would have been cool to see him in Rebels, especially with Rex on the side of the Rebels. I'm not expecting it, but there's something interesting there.
Yeah, I don't know. With the time period of the series, I don't know if it would make sense for him to be in it, or any of the clones for that matter, but never say never.
Yeah, I mean, he would be alive, because this is taking place before Rebels. And I mean, Rex is around until at least Return of the Jedi, so Cody can clearly still be alive as long as he wasn't killed.
Yeah. Lux Ray asks if the Gris will pose as much of a threat to the galaxy as the Yuzong Vong did in Legends. So we learn about the Gris in the Thrawn books.
Right now, I think they're going to be relegated to the books.
Yeah.
I think that we might explore the Chiss ascendancy more. That's what I see Timothy Zahn setting up. Like, now that Thrawn's gone missing, I think that we have a real opportunity to explore the Chiss without Thrawn. And be like, okay, well, we've lost one of our most brilliant minds. He's been with the Empire for a while. Now he's gone completely. Because I'm thinking that Dave Filoni gets first crack at that. Timothy Zahn has said as much. Timothy Zahn probably still wants to write Star Wars stories, but like, without Thrawn, he can still write about Admiral Aralani. He can write about Eli Vanto. He's set up some really interesting, like, maybe some of the Chiss are helping the Grisk. So I don't think that the Grisk will invade the galaxy as we know it, but I think in the books, we could see a Grisk-Chiss war.
Sure. And I'm trying to think, the only other scenario I could see it happening would be if there were an animated series talking about Thrawn and Ezra, like an animated continuation of what Thrawn and Ezra are up to. Maybe the Gris could be involved somehow, but I don't think they would be anything like the Yuzong Vong were in Legends. Cool Triplets 2 wants to know if Maul is using Savage Opress's lightsaber in his fight against Ahsoka. So this is in the trailer for season 7 of the Clone Wars, he whips out a new double-bladed red lightsaber. Whose is it?
I chose this question partially because everyone yelled at me for not including that one in the Darth Maul. Not everyone, like a couple people left comments and they said, "You forgot the one from Clone Wars season 7." We're like, "Well, we don't know anything about it yet."
There's a lot of comments.
Look, but the idea that it's Savage's, I think that's possible. As far as we know, it was left on Mandalore, I guess. Palpatine took Maul away, imprisoned him. Mm-hmm. Maul escaped, runs around for a little bit, goes back to Mandalore. So, yeah, I think that's kind of cool if he's using his fallen brother's lightsaber. Yeah,
and it would be a cool callback to previous stories in the Clone Wars. I don't see why not. Lord of Lore asks if the Eclipse could appear in the Rise of Skywalker since it was made canon in Aftermath Empire's End. So this is...
a Super Star Destroyer.
Palpatine's...
specific his flagship, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Now, in Legends, it was this completely different, like, covered in black armor, and it had, like, a super laser on the front. As far as we know, that's not what the Eclipse is. It's just a Super Star Destroyer. We haven't seen it yet. Mm-hmm. Ray Sloan sees it, but doesn't describe it as anything but a Super Star Destroyer. Yeah. We saw that fleet of just Imperial-class Star Destroyers in the D23 footage. Maybe there's a Super Star Destroyer in there, too.
Yeah, I mean, if it is going to be in the movie, we're not going to see it in a trailer, I don't think. That would be, like, a big surprise
I also don't think in the movie they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, it's the Eclipse, Emperor Palpatine's flagship."
Yeah.
Instead, it'll be like, there's a Super Star Destroyer flying around, and someone like Admiral Akbar will be like, "Concentrate all your fire on that Super Star Destroyer."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't really make a big deal about specific ships in the films. I mean, Poe talks about the chance at getting to take out a dreadnought, but other than that...
they don't go, "It's the Fulminatrix."
Yeah. And they are, like, shocked when they see Snoke's flagship at first just because of the sheer size of it.
And they also just go, "It's Snoke's ship." I don't think they call it the Supremacy.
Right. So I don't know if it would get called out as anything special.
But in the visual dictionary, if there's a Super Star Destroyer in there, why wouldn't Pablo be like, "It's the Eclipse"?
Yeah. People would like that, I think.
I would like that. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion where you will get a guaranteed answer from us. Also, this is coming out on Saturday, so we will still be at Dragon Con for another couple days. If you're there, come say hey. We'll be doing the episode 9 speculation panel tomorrow on Sunday at 1 p.m., right? Yeah. So that should be a lot of fun. And we'll do a hangout right after that. But if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.